All right, here is Unit 8, Lesson 2, talking about different characteristics of quadratic functions. All right, so what is the x-intercept of a function? So when we did linear functions, we talked about x-intercepts. The x-intercept is the x value when y equals 0. Remember, we write that as the x value, comma, 0 as an ordered pair. Okay, it's also where the graph crosses the x-axis, So we're going to be looking at that in relation to quadratic functions here. So a 0 of a function is an x value that makes the function equal to 0. So a 0 is the same as an x-intercept. Okay, 0 and x-intercept are the same thing. Since a graph intersects the x-axis at the point or points containing an x-intercept, these intersections are also at the zeros of the function. These are also sometimes referred to as roots. So we have three things here. We have x-intercept, we have zeros, and we have roots. All of those mean the same thing. And we're also going to call them solutions. So you need to know that those all mean the same thing. A quadratic function may have 1, 2, or no zeros. Okay, so let's look at what that would look like. If it has 1, 0, that means it has one x-intercept. That means it's going to touch the x-intercept only once. So it could look like this. That's if it has 1. If it has 2 zeros, that means it's going to cross the x-axis twice, like this, 1 and 2. And if it has no zeros, then that means it's never going to cross the y-axis, so it might look something like this. Or it could look something like this, where it will never cross the x-axis. So that's what that would look like. The blank is the vertical line that divides a parabola, remember parabola is the U shape, into two symmetrical halves. This is called the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry. X equals negative b over 2a. Negative b over 2a. So if you have an equation, you should be able to find the axis of symmetry. Remember, the axis of symmetry is a vertical line, which has the equation x equals the x-intercept of that line. You can also find it by looking at the graph, okay? So in this situation, I see the vertex right here, okay? So that, no, not that. Okay, so this is my axis of symmetry. Again, a little bit off. Now over here, I can look, okay, so the vertex, where's the vertex? The vertex is at 2, 0. Okay, remember the vertex is the minimum or the maximum. Therefore, the axis of symmetry is x equals the x value of the vertex. All right, the vertex here, well, if I look, I can see that I have a 0 here and a 0 here. That's at 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 0, and 5, 0. Now, remember that the vertex is in the middle of the zeros, okay, because it's in the very middle of the parabola. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 in between here. So that means that the axis of symmetry is right here, which means my vertex is right here, which is at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, negative 8 is my vertex. And my axis of symmetry is x equals what? What is this value right here? 3. X equals 3. So what do we know about the axis of symmetry and the vertex? We know that the axis of symmetry is equal to the x value of the vertex. So given the equation, we're going to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. Remembering our formula, x equals negative b over 2a. Okay? So my A here is 2, my B is 1, and my C is 3. I really only need AB here. Okay, so negative B, that's negative 1 over 2 times A, which is 4. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1/4. Now, how do I find my vertex? Well, I know this is my x value of the vertex. So then what I need to do is I need to plug this in for x and figure out what y is. So 2 times negative 1/4 squared plus negative 1/4, I could have put minus 1/4, plus 3. If you wanted to, you could literally just type this in your calculator, but I'm going to do it the long way. 2 times negative 1/4 squared is going to be positive. It's going to be positive 1 over 16 plus 1/4. Oh, no, that's negative 1/4. So let me change that to minus 1/4. 1 over 16 minus 1/4 plus 3. Now, 2 times 1 over 16 is actually 1 over 8. So 1 over 8 minus 1/4 plus 3. 1/8 minus 1/4. Well, this is the same as 2/8. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1/8 plus 3. And 1/8 is 0.125. So negative 0.125 plus 3 is going to be positive 2.875. So my vertex is going to be negative 1/4, comma 2.875. And I could have also written that as a fraction, but that's how I'm going to write it. All right, let's look at the next one. What is our A? Our A here is negative 1, our B is negative 2, and our C is 0. Okay, again, we're just using A and B. So negative B, well, B is negative 2, so the negative of that is positive 2, over, so positive 2 over 2 times A, which is negative 2. And 2 over negative 2 is negative 1. Okay, now I probably shouldn't have written that here. I should have done it here. So x equals negative 1 is my axis of symmetry. So now I'm going to plug in a negative 1 for x into this to find out what my vertex is. So I'm going to erase this, a different color. Okay, so negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, but then times a negative is a negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, and so the answer is 1. So my vertex is going to be negative 1, comma 1. All right, last one. A is 1, B is negative 4. And again, we don't need C, so I'm not going to worry about that. All right. So negative B is positive 4 over 2 times 1 is 2. So 4 over 2, which is 2. So that's my axis of symmetry, x equals 2. So now I'm going to plug this in. So 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 10. So 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 times 2 is minus 8 minus 10. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Minus 10 is negative 14. So my vertex is 2, comma negative 14. All right, so that's how you find vertex and axis of symmetry.